As we've been working on this platform, opportunities to do more important and rewarding work keep popping up, and we just don't have time for them all. We have had some wonderful academic research collaborations and collaborations with other types of orgs who are interested in this app. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, there's a 90-second video nearby that I would recommend watching before you watch this one. What I'm going to do here is delve into some of the research opportunities that exist around this platform and product. And the purpose of this is to see if you're interested. When I talk to researchers, invariably we get excited, we get a few of these things up on the board, it sparks conversation, we come up with a project, they come up with better ideas that I hadn't thought of. So I thought that a more efficient way to do that might be to make a video, get some of the things that often come up on the board, share it with you over the interweb. So the value proposition, in a manner of speaking, of the product is answering this question, what works for whom? If you've seen that intro video, you know that somebody comes in, takes a questionnaire. We recommend action plans, paths, resources to them, and they rate them. And what happens is it cues the machine learning as they give the ratings so that the next person in gets similar paths to the extent that they are similar to previous users and to the extent that their questionnaire answers correlate with the questionnaire answers of the similar users. And of course, machine learning can do this in a much more sophisticated way where it can determine what questions predict which action plans will work based on math. So who can we help with this? Who needs to know what works for whom? The one that you've seen an example of is college and university students in that video. One that I'm really excited about is new moms. I'm a new dad, and my wife and I talk and we say, oh, if only you could have taken a questionnaire. Are you breastfeeding? Are you using formula? Do you have a husband in the picture? Are they useful? Are they willing to try to be useful? How are you sleeping? How's the baby sleeping? How are you eating? How's the baby eating? Do you feel isolated? Do you feel depressed? Answering a series of those questions plus giving her location where she is might have shortcutted the time that it took her to find the right resources, the right books, the right videos, the right ideas for her. Addiction recovery is another big one. One of our investors got really excited about this and knows that space really well. PTSD, first responders, police, nurses, docs, and we're not so much doing therapy through the app as we are making suggestions, right? Journaling, meditation, walks, the kinds of calming exercises you might take on. It could be other apps, it could be videos, it could be books, it could be podcasts. But we want to find people who are trying to get better, get what will work for them and skip the, clumsy, awkward, pushing through the muck process of trying to find what's going to work for them. Books and entertainment. We started a little collaboration on this, thinking, what if somebody could take a questionnaire and we could get them the author that would speak to them, the book that would speak to them from the classics was how we were thinking about it initially. K through 12, there are IEPs, I think individualized education plans, and we've discussed, let's say, coming up with a way to improve that system a little bit so that, again, people are using what's going to work for them based on a questionnaire. Medical conditions. I have type 1 diabetes. I've done some work in that space. I used to provide video education for people with type 1 diabetes, and this would be a much better way of delivering that kind of thing for that and other medical conditions where you have to learn to adapt to that new situation. Corporate, onboarding, learning, psychological safety. You can imagine a workplace where people are posting the action plans that work for them to, get a raise, be more productive, deal with a project manager, stay healthy, achieve work-life balance, and that if you could give people what was going to work for them, you would get a happier, more productive workplace. And disadvantaged youth is a contract that we're already working on. You can probably think of more, but I just want to highlight the range of possible applications for this technology. And again, we're really excited about making this happen, but we can't do it all. We barely have time to make this video with everything that's going on, so this is our effort to bring in more people. I'm going to move to the next spot here. So, as you no doubt understand already, the idea here is that we understand the user, we suggest actions to them, we collect ratings, and then this provides a feedback loop, and all of these things are informing what works for whom. That's what the machine learning does. How is it set up? Again, I don't want to get technical because I'm not particularly technical, and because it would take forever, but the understanding is basically, or the way it's explained to me often, is basically that there are tables in each of these cases, and you're tracking all of the responses and doing the math to connect these kind of infinite tables of possible questions, possible actions, and then the limited set of ratings. The thing to note here is that you can ask any question, right? If you have a hypothesis that the question that's going to be really important in your scenario is something that's not, existing in a questionnaire already, you just add that, and then, pops in down here, and then you get to see the analytics of what does it predict. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in the future. And I've got this little corner up here just to kind of emphasize that the way, my understanding of the way that the science of this works right now is basically that people fill out a questionnaire, a personality inventory, an onboarding questionnaire, and then, somebody has to look at that data in correlation with how they performed on a particular task or in correlation with how they performed at a particular job. But it's very slow. It's not immediate, right? There's no immediate action plan that they're suggested, immediate feedback given. So the way that I like to map this out is to say the timeline for trees, short. Amount of data, tons, okay? You think of existing research, the military has done a lot of personality testing, correlating that with job performance. Of course, university professors have done a lot of personality assessments on undergraduate students. The timeline on those, long, and the amount of data, short, compared to a machine learning solution. So do with that what you can, right? I'm just trying to highlight what I think is possible here. Let's slide. I'm going to talk about the big five for a minute, and it's not, maybe you have a different questionnaire profile that you like, or maybe personality isn't particularly relevant to the questions that you would ask for your population of interest. But this just kind of gives an idea of how this can be useful in real life, I think. So the big five proposes that we have 5 dimensions. I think I'm supposed to call it the Neo-PIR if I'm talking to a personality researcher. We could do me on this, roughly low agreeableness, low neuroticism. So here's me, right? And maybe I'm in the 97th percentile, 90th percentile, 10th percentile, 10th percentile. So what can you tell me about myself? What can you tell me about what's going to work for me, right? This is how this stuff is used right now. Somebody fills out this assessment, and then it, maybe a counselor is asked to interpret it. But the interactions between each of these things, like, space is 3 dimensions, maybe time is the 4th, right? This is 5 dimensions, and you're supposed to figure out how they all interact with each other in a meaningful way, not to mention that each of these has 2 or 3 subdimensions that are quite different. Conscientiousness, orderliness, and industriousness, very different subdimensions. So the point here is that a human can't do it, machine learning can. Machine learning can parse this. You can add in the habits questions, you can find out the location, find out demographics, anything else that feels relevant, throw it into the mix, ask a question about it, and then over time, the machine learning will tell you what these factors predict, what the mediation and moderation, variables are within that, and it'll tell you which questions are irrelevant. So you don't have to have a 100-item questionnaire. You can just ask the 20 most relevant questions, especially at first, until you want to start testing more questions. Good. Let's move to the last one. As we were giving people the questionnaire, we just had the Likert scale tick boxes, right? Strongly agree, strongly disagree, neither agree nor disagree in the middle. And we said, well, this is tedious and we're not getting that much data. We're getting, one data point. So we invented this slider and we filed a provisional patent on it. And maybe you got to see it in that other video, but effectively what happens is the slider starts in the middle, and then they slide to answer. And as they slide it, the response that they're giving shows up across the top. So if they slide to the top, yes, yes, yes. As they slide down, it goes down to yes, yes. Then it can go all the way down to no, 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 no. And what we see people doing is thinking while they slide, right? So the thumb, you ask them, I leave my belongings around is one of the questions, has to do with orderliness, which I mentioned. You watch them, they go, no. Well, maybe, well, yeah, but not that much. And then they release. How much data is in there, right? They're doing this, they're watching these change up top, they're paying attention to how they feel as they respond to it. So there's the hesitation before they start, there's the the data point that their thumb is at every microsecond, there's the speed of it, there's the release point, and then the next question slides in immediately. And so you're not getting, a rating from 1 to 7 on this, you're getting, I'm going to say between 100 and 1,000 points of data for each of these slider responses. And again, machine learning can parse it and tell you what it means. We have to start with our hypotheses, but those get proven wrong and we get corrected. So this alone seems to represent a major opportunity. And maybe, you could see somebody using this not only for something fairly obvious from what I've already discussed, which might be sorting a content library of videos or a content library of training, a library of content, an app, right? Imagine using a questionnaire before you went into YouTube, TikTok, your podcast app, getting things recommended that were going to fit who you are, where you are, what you're into. Beyond that, this seems to have other potential applications. You can imagine somebody who needs to assess their pain every day for a medical condition, that something like this might actually be helpful for that as well. So this is a whole other business and field of research that we kind of stumbled into. So again, I hope this is interesting you. I hope I did an okay job of explaining the potential that we see here. If it's not for you, cool. If it is for you, please do get in touch. Again, I love these conversations. I love working with smart people who want to figure things out. That's all I want to do. And so it's frustrating to me that we don't have time to talk to everybody who might be interested in this individually, but this video is hopefully a way of letting people decide if it's worth their time to reach out and have a conversation with us. And if you feel like it's interesting, please do so, and hopefully you've got 100 ideas that I didn't mention, and I will look forward to hearing about them. Thank you, thank you, thank you.